Who remembers trolls? No, not the internet kind. I'm talking about the troll doll. There are these little dolls, each with their own hair color and look kind of cute back in the 90s. These things were more of a girl toy that got so popular that there were a bunch of different competitors such as Battle Trolls and all different kinds of merchandise including video games. So of course, today we're going to take a look at the game that was released for the SNES called Super Troll Islands. This is yet another game that the internet can't get the facts right on. According to Wikipedia, it was developed by Millennium Interactive, published by ASC Games, and released in 1994, while IGN credits Kenco as the developer. Guys, get your facts right. It confuses people like me who look up who worked on it and puts the blame of potentially one of the worst SNES games of all time on guys who didn't develop it. Spoiler alert, as for who I think developed it, I tend to lean towards Millennium Interactive. More sources have credited the team, and I'll go with them for now. Millennium Interactive is an obscure development team. Seriously, when I can't name one game I played by your development team, then you're kind of obscure. They are a development team out of Cambridge in the United Kingdom that made games mostly for the PC during the 90s. They would eventually merge together with Guerrilla Entertainment Studio in Cambridge, and that's as far as I know about the team. As for games, the biggest series I've heard that they developed was the James Bond series. Other titles include DEFCON 5, the 1997 reboot of Frogger, and Rome Pathway to Power. ASC, or American Software Corporation, on the other hand, is also more of a forgettable oddity. They were formed in 1992 and didn't last that long or published that many games. Most of their published games were forgettable action and shovelware games, including Dead in the Water, Perfect Weapon, and Mass Destruction. The most noteworthy game they published was the original Grand Theft Auto for PC and PlayStation 1 before Rockstar Games took over that job. Sadly, they eventually went out of business in 2000. Anyway, let's get on to the game already. There really isn't any story at all in Super Troll Islands. It's just a series of platforming levels that you gotta beat to finish the game. The graphics are weird. It has a bit of an identity crisis. The enemies and backgrounds have a very trippy look to it, while your character looks like a clay animated sprite. This is just a start to the problems this game has. Levels are tiny. There are around 3 to 4 screens big, and with how fast you move, they can be explored in about 2 minutes top. Another problem is that the colors used for the text. The game blends greens, purples, and stuff you would see on an acid trip so much that you can barely read your score and the text at all. Outside of that, it's an okay looking game. It's on par with games that tried this style before, like any of the Flintstones games and so forth. The audio is okay. The music is very appropriate to the subject matter, but it's a lot to be desired. To sum it all up, it's not bad, it's just not all that memorable. The gameplay is awful. Like I said, this is one of the worst platforming games and quite possibly one of the worst SNES games I ever played. So before we get into why it's so bad, let's break down the game. The game has you run around bringing color to the world of Super Troll Island as one of 4 different colored trolls. You got to run on a certain amount of land before it reveals some of the background, and you can continue on with the game. Along the way, you'll pick up items to throw at enemies, and that's about as in-depth as it gets. Sure, you got springs and so forth. The thing is that it's nothing you haven't seen before. The thing that's supposed to make the game different is the trolls. Each one has a different way in how you play as them. One can move faster, or one can jump higher, but I can barely tell the difference between the 4. Here's what the game gets right. The game boots up, the controls could be worse, fundamentally works, and the game has an ending screen. And I had to think long and hard about anything good to say about this game. What kills it is almost everything else, and it starts with the controls. They are bad in a Sonic the Hedgehog cash-in game, kind of bad. You move around way too fast for how small the levels are. This makes getting hit an inevitable thing that will happen a lot. Not to mention, it also makes trying to climb up ladders a war of attrition. Jumping is also just as bad for the same reasons, which is not helped by how you can barely hit enemies at all. Its only saving grace is that I know there are worse controlling games out there. What's even worse is how it tries to mitigate dealing with enemies. You get a weapon that you can throw to either stun or kill enemies. You pick it up by walking past it. Also get a secondary weapon to use once you use the weapon you picked up, along with an invincibility mode that pretty much annihilates anything that you run past. There are several problems with these weapons. The first problem is that there's no way to get more ammo for your secondary weapon. This would lead you to either save all of it for unreachable or problem areas, or when you run out, take the first hit from an enemy, run as fast as you can to try to finish the level before you take any more damage. The second problem is that the secondary weapon goes about 1/3 of the screen, whereas anything else you pick up flies the entire screen until it either hits something or hits a wall. The third and most dooming problem is that it flies in an arc, which makes hitting an enemy a royal pain in the butt. This would lead you to missing enemies a lot and running out of ammo a lot. With everything considered, this makes fighting enemies completely and utterly pointless. The camera would be useless if the levels were bigger. Because of how fast your character moves, the camera barely has a chance to center itself, and yet the game looks center most of the time because of how small the levels are. There are other issues such as the suspect hit detection, the poor enemy placement, but at the end of the day, if this was a SNES homebrew game about internet trolls, then it would have been as advertised. It trolls you into thinking that it might be half decent, it changes some of the rules just to screw with you, and it's laughing the entire time because you paid for this probably 20 plus level long piece of garbage. Instead, this is a rush job at best, and nothing feels remotely play tested, let alone polished. Overall, Super Troll Islands is an awful game. This game barely works as given enough resources. I can find a team of 10 people who can make a lot better game in the 2 months they probably had to make it. Avoid this at all costs. If you need something to add to your troll collection, go find those battle trolls. They'll give you a lot more fun than this ever will. I give it 2 out of 10.